Hey, hi, beautiful soul. I just wrote a poem called Alone with Myself, which I think is very fitting for these times of confinement and quarantine. And it felt really good. It just felt like my soul needed to express that, to write those words. And my hope is that by reading them to you, you will find the energy behind them to help you move through whatever it is that you're moving through as you're being confronted with being alone with yourself in these times. So here it goes. Alone with myself. Being alone was my greatest fear. I did everything I could to not be alone. My fear was not so much being alone, but being alone with myself. That what was my greatest fear was. And I did everything I could to not be alone with myself. For years, I was a workaholic, always hustling with a few side jobs, making my job titles and all of my credentials the biggest part of my identity. If you had asked me who I was then, I would have given you my job title. That's really who I thought I was. I did everything I could to not be alone with myself. I also used food to numb my emotions. Nobody knew it, but binge eating disorder was ruling me. I used food like some use alcohol, eating so much even when I didn't want to. Forcing myself, punishing myself. I didn't deserve to feel good. The physical heaviness and pain felt 1,000 times better than what I felt underneath it all. It felt 1,000 times better than what I didn't want to feel. So I did everything I could to not feel it, by avoiding slowing down, by avoiding being alone with myself at all cost. And every time I binged, it gave me the perfect opportunity to focus all of my time and energy planning my diet and workouts with the hope that if I could fix my body, I could maybe fix what was wrong with me. Giving me the illusion that somehow I had control, because focusing on my body and health felt more manageable than looking at the wounds that kept being reopened in my heart, that kept being triggered by triggers within and around me. I didn't want to feel that. I didn't want to be alone with that. So I did everything I could to not be alone with myself. I traveled around the world looking for the missing pieces of the puzzle, looking for pieces that would finally help me not feel this void inside of me. Trying to escape the triggers, trying to escape the pain, trying to escape myself. I did everything I could to not be alone with myself. And one day, I became a mother. I had this new identity. I was a mother. Me? Really? Can I really do that? I gave all of myself to that role. Feeling alone in a relationship of almost 2 decades and the chaos of a marriage that was suffocating me. But this relationship was also me, who I thought I was. I was the girl who lived with her high school sweetheart since the age of 18. I was the girl who married her high school sweetheart. That was the fairy tale. Isn't that every little girl's dream? I did everything I could to be alone with myself, to not be alone with myself. But during one of these long nights, breastfeeding my toddler back to sleep, as I was going through my dark night of the soul, it started becoming clear that it was time for me to learn to be alone with myself. I started slowly, and it was one of the scariest things I ever did, but I kept practicing being alone with myself a little bit more and a little bit more until the universe gave me a big push and told me that I was ready for the next level. I was ready to birth myself. All of my identities were stripped away from me at once. I cannot describe how painful it was. There are no words for it. I thought my heart couldn't take it. The band-aid of my identities was what was holding me together, and now it had been ripped away from me. I know the band-aid wasn't perfect, but it was something, and now I had nothing holding me together. And I didn't even know. I had nothing but myself, and I didn't even know who myself was. Overnight, I was no longer a wife. Overnight, I was no longer a mother. I couldn't see my own son half of the time, half of my life, half of his life. My son, who had been my whole life since the day he was born, the pain of not wishing him good night every night, broke me open, tore me apart. The pain that I was only going to be part of half of his life took away a piece of my heart that I don't think I'll ever find again. The crack in my heart was so wide and deep, I thought I could never find my way out. He was not even 3 years old when I realized that my son wasn't even mine. He never was, as no children ever are. I know that. But that hit me like a slap in the face. I was a mother and also not a mother at the same time. Breathe. Let go, let go, let go. Remember the truth. Remember who you are. I cried. I screamed on my knees asking why. Why take everything away from me? Why? And the only answer I got was, go deeper within yourself. And I hated that answer. But I had no choice. I had nothing else left. I kept practicing being alone with myself. At times I distracted myself with relationships with men, hoping they would save me, hoping that I could rewrite my fairy tale story. But every time I learned what I had to learn until I was told to go back to being alone, to deepen my practice of being alone with myself. Long weekends and long nights alone with myself. I hated it. Yet I knew I needed it. I needed it to shed more layers, to strip myself naked and see who I really was underneath it all. Breathing as I labored, letting go, letting go, letting go, surrendering. It was a long process. It took years. But I have learned to be alone with myself, to get to know myself after all of these years, finally feeling whole, feeling like me, feeling home within myself. I had forgotten that feeling. And now I never want to lose it ever again. Ask me who I am now. I know it in my bones. I still get scared. I still forget at times. Sometimes I still get angry that my fairy tale didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But I was never meant to be a fucking princess. I am a priestess. This quarantine reminds me of this process, this dark cocoon I was thrown into that many people are now being pushed into. Some will numb and distract themselves until it's over. Some just want to go back to how things were before. Some will suffer through it. Some will surrender. Some will see the beauty in it. And perhaps you'll do all of the above, and that's okay. But can you see what I see? The beauty in the darkness, the beauty of the dark night of the soul. No matter where you're at, I just want you to know that it's completely normal to feel how you feel. But just say yes. Say yes to it all. Breathe. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Surrender. Surrender some more. Keep breathing. Nourish yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And stand up tall. Light up a candle. Walk into the darkness. Crawl if you have to. It's okay, but keep going. Keep saying yes. You have been preparing for this your whole life. You are ready for this. It's time to remember. It's time to remember who you truly are. Sending you so much love. Take good care of yourself. You're not alone in this.